Hello everybody, my name is Emma Walker. It is week 40 of She's Gone Too Far. For the last 2 years I have stated publicly that I have huge concerns about the potential for paedophilia and the protection of paedophiles in the Liberal Democrats in England. I am happy to now state that I know for a fact that if you have a concern about paedophilia in the Lib Dems, you will be ignored and they will try to silence you, and that is a huge problem in itself. We all know that there is a deep, dark history of paedophilia in the Liberals, and Cyril Smith was abusing children from the 60s. It wasn't discovered until after he died in 2010 when the local authorities described him as a prolific sex offender, child sex offender. Lord David Steele, who was leader of the Liberals at one point, came out in 2020 and said that he had assumed that Cyril Smith was a paedophile whilst he was a leader of the Liberals. And so, unsurprisingly, in February 2020, there were calls for David Steele to be prosecuted. On the 25th of February 2020, Lord David Steele resigned his membership of the Liberal Democrats and subsequently gave up his seat in the House of Lords. People began to call on Willie Rennie, MSP, then leader of the Scottish Liberal Democrats, to apologise for the whitewashing of paedophilia in the Liberal Democrats. He refused to do that, and he also refused to condemn David Steele over his handling of the child abuse allegations. Now, bearing in mind that David Steele's office in 1979 dismissed any allegations of paedophilia, stating that it was just a mere spanking of some bare bottoms, the fact that Willie Rennie refused to do this in 2020 makes me feel sick, particularly because he is one of the people who is responsible for hearing the complaints that I have now about the potential cover-up of paedophilia. Fast forward almost a year, and at the end of January and beginning of February 2021, over the course of about a week, I received a number of different phone calls from staffers and members of the Liberal Democrats telling me that they had concerns and or evidence of paedophilia in the Liberal Democrats. They certainly were describing some very upsetting behaviour, and they wanted me to help them to do what I'm not really sure. Now, bearing in mind at the time I was being handled appallingly in the party when I spoke up about abuse and assault and mental health problems and all kinds of other things. But here I am talking to a senior staffer in the Lib Dems on the 3rd of February saying that somebody else has contacted me to talk about deep systematic hell that they've discovered in the Lib Dems. And she responds to me by saying, Jesus fucking Christ, it just never ends, does it? If I was an investigator, I would like to ask that person what never ends. Now, this staffer didn't know that I'd already been made aware of other people's concerns about paedophilia, but she did know about other things relating to abuse, misappropriation of funds, bullying, suicide attempts, all of those things. And she hadn't at that point talked really about wanting to resign from the party. She wanted to change it from within, and she wholeheartedly believed that she could. She asked me later that night how had the meeting gone, and I swore and said that it was intense to say the least and that I was going to call her tomorrow. The following morning she says she's dead curious to find out, and I say, you say that now. She responds, oh boy. Oh boy, indeed. During the course of this conversation with the staffer, I told them about the conversations I'd been having with other people relating to the concerns around paedophilia, particularly a conversation that I'd had a few days previous with a senior staffer in London HQ. During the course of the phone call, we both got very upset. This staffer got particularly upset, and considering she had been around the party since she'd become an adult and had never suggested that she was going to resign before because she thought she could fix it from within, the following day she tells me that she's drafting her resignation, and she left the party with immediate effect. It's hard to really convey where my mental health was at this point, and it's even harder to do it through the medium of Canva Pro. But when you see all of the things that I was screenshotting at the time, you can see that I'm trying to find my brave, like the thing on the left here, where I'm trying to look for the Emma inside of me that existed before I joined the Lib Dems. The staffer who I had just told about the concerns about paedophilia is now writing her resignation letter, and at the time I truly believed that she was the person keeping me upright in the party. She was the person who I thought at the time was giving me the strength to be able to pursue complaints internally at various different points within the party. I didn't know what to do, but I knew that I had to do something, and I was scared because I'm not a stupid person. I'm smart, and I understand that if you throw out an allegation of paedophilia, then you're likely to be judged very unkindly. So I decided on the 8th of February to try to go out for the first time on the Scottish Liberal Democrat Facebook page. So this is for all members of the party. And I ask them, amongst other things, let me be wrong. Let me give evidence to an independent inquiry, and if they decide that I'm wrong, then at least I'll have been heard. Now, I don't mention paedophilia at this point, but I am asking them to stop throwing stones at the SNP for hiding evidence and silencing the truth, because those stones hit many Lib Dem women, staff, and campaigners firmly in the guts, and it really, really hurts. What do you think happened to that message?